Sorry about the wait. All right, I think we're gonna do one more. Then I'm gonna wrap it up for the day. That was quite a turn. Quite a turn. It's like we're just like going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. Dr. Dekker was holding a girl prisoner, like kidnapped a girl in her basement to test Claire's powers out. Who do we want to go for next? I know who Vinny wants to go for. I think we want to go Mariana. Do we want to go Mariana? Or should we go with Bryce since we already talked to Bryce? Or Jaya? We also have Professor Warwick here. Maybe we want to talk to Professor Warwick, even though there's no... He's already completed. It's a tough call. Vinny wants Jaja. I thought you'd want Mariana. Da, 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 da. Okay. Jaya, Vinny's the only one answering, so I'm going to go with Jaya. What kind of hints do I have? Where were you when Dr. Dekker was murdered?
Some mornings I come into work and still expect him to be here. Sometimes it feels like he actually is here, watching over me. We had a connection. It's gone now, though. You can't have a connection with the dead, can you? Not for too long, anyway.
Okay, let's ask about the connection.
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's. I refused, obviously, because you don't sleep where you eat or something like that. But it was flattering, especially with competition like Mariana around.
Okay, let's ask about Mariana.
I don't know.
Competition.
Sorry, I didn't mean I was competing. I was happy Mariana was going out with him. I didn't want to be romantic with him. We had a stronger connection than that.
Okay. Sex on my dining table before, what? With Dr. Dekker? Is that a stronger connection than romantic?
Dr. Dekker and I shared some philosophy. We'd both read The Cult of the Kinetic Mind, and we agreed with a lot of what it said. Have you read that book, Doctor?
I have not read that book.
In Cult of the Kinetic Mind, the author suggests that
everyone
is capable of psychokinesis, and that the cult leaders specifically had these powers that turned their followers into disciples. It's not a fun read, but if you're into psychology, it's a blast.
Okay, so is she basically admitting that, like... she was manipulating the patients with Dr. Dekker?
In Cult of the Kinetic Mind, the author suggests that everyone is capable of psychokinesis, and that the cult leaders specifically had these powers that turned their followers into disciples. It's not a fun read, but if you're into psychology, it's a blast.
Okay. Psychokinesis?
I don't know any...
What was it again? Psychokinesis, okay.
Psychokinesis is the ability to change the physical world without actually touching it, just by using your mind.
Dekker's the cult leader,
It's
right?
not just about bending spoons. It covers all sorts of things like telepathy, telekinesis, telesabalas. Shoot me, I'm a Kojak fan.
Funny. Kojak.
Like I said, all those cool things are in Cult of the Kinetic Mind, apart from Kojak, obviously. If you ever get a patient who thinks they can change the world with just their mind, then duck, just in case they can. But seriously, do a whole load of shrinking and make them better. Whether you believe in psychokinesis or not, you'll need to figure out your approach with those that do. Sorry, I didn't mean I was competing. I was happy Mariana was going out with him. I didn't want to be romantic with him. We had a stronger connection than that. That's a strange question to...
Okay, so it doesn't want to go down the Mariana road. Yeah, Dekker. So he's creating kind of like almost like a cult out of the patients. That kind of matches with what the trustee said about like creating chaos to summon the Elder One or the Cthulhu dude. Lovecraftian super cosmetic gods. Were you his... Okay, good one.
Have you been taking notes in our session, Doctor? Perhaps you should check them?
I just asked disciples.
Followers and disciples have a very strong tie to their cult leaders, almost like they've been brainwashed. The author suggests that this is because they've witnessed some kind of psychokinesis, like pyrokinesis or telekinesis.
Does this game ever end? Good question. Oh, we're almost halfway through.
At midnight.
David Hunt's.
Almost halfway through. How do we follow up on
Like I
this?
said, all those cool things are in Cult of the Kinetic Mind.
Cult.
You're overthinking things. You don't need to ask me that.
I'll play Dota later. Not right now. Just old. After dinner, probably. I'll play.
Like I said, all those cool things are in Cult of the Kinetic Mind.
Oh, talking about the book. Okay.
Like I said, all those cool things are in Cult of the Kinetic Mind.
We were zombie Dr. Dekker that has
obviously.
resurrected to form a religious
If you
cult.
ever
Basically,
get
we
a
are
patient
Jesus.
who thinks they can change
I don't
the
know.
world
I don't
with
think so.
just their mind, then duck, just in case they can. But seriously, do a whole load of shrinking and make them better. Whether you believe in psychokinesis or not, you'll need to figure out your approach with those that do.
Approach, maybe?
How do you make people who think they have special powers better? Do you remain passive and support, encourage them, take them away?
Okay. Courage.
To deepen their affliction? I wouldn't.
Okay. That's it. Oh, cool. You're back home. Nice. Yeah. It's 5:30 for us right now. All right. I guess we need to go back. Let's go back to the book.
In The Kinetic Mind, the author suggests that everyone is capable of psychokinesis and that the cult leaders specifically had these powers that turned their...
Cult leader.
I don't know everything. I know most things, but not everything.
Why don't you know everything? A person can fly, let him jump. Real question, have you started to form a hypothesis on who killed Dr. Dekker? I'm really not sure yet. The most obvious choice right now, like the actual physical evidence, points towards Claire, because the killing of Dr. Dekker is very similar to the killing of her husband. but I don't really think, I mean, this story is morphing into more than just like who killed Dr. Dekker. It's morphing into more like, what's the big picture? Like what's going on here? And it's like, I think Dr. Dekker was working with the trustees in order to summon like a Lovecraftian Cthulhu-esque god. And they were using these patients to create chaos in order to do that. And maybe his death was part of that. He decided to like sacrifice himself towards that cause. But it's still like very murky. Like, why did he... Or is the big picture a red herring? Maybe it's just a bunch of crazy people, right?
In Cult of the Kinetic Mind, the author suggests that everyone is capable of psychokinesis and that the cult leaders specifically had these powers that turned their followers into disciples. It's not a fun read, but if you're into psychology, it's a blast. Yes, psychology. I think you'll find it's relevant, Doctor.
Yeah, maybe. Might find that relevant. Followers? Okay, let's go hint. I don't want to get stuck for too long. Is psychokinesis common? Kinesis common.
No, not at all in my experience. Dr. Dekker had an unusual number of patients who claimed psychokinesis. Either he'd been specifically looking for them or someone had been sending them.
The trustee, right? Who decided on Dr. Dekker's patients?
No, that's not it. Nope.
Patients.
That's not something I...
How do I...
No, not at all in my experience. Dr. Dekker had an unusual number of patients who claimed psychokinesis. Either he'd been...
I'll show you, Tracer, in case you missed this. Alderby.
Nothing, of course. The faculty thinks I've gone loopy, like some kind of spongy Mobius strip. That's why I'm here, isn't it, Dr. Dekker? Him, God, the great old one, the Elder God Cthulhu, however you address him. Listen to me! You're not listening! It's your only bloody job. Well, let's call him God. He creates this world.
So this guy
something he can
is a trustee for Dr.
Dekker's
Dekker's practice.
God loves chaos, but something goes wrong. Man and woman evolve. What was once chaotic becomes, well, more ordered. Without chaos, he has less power. When there's too much order, he becomes impotent. So he needs to instill chaos again. And do you know how he does this? No. And yes, but you're being too granular. He needs chaos so he can return, and the only thing stopping him is you. Not just you. You and people like you. Psychiatrists, doctors, nurses. Anyone who is caring for people who are losing their sanity. You have no comprehension how important your job is, do you? He doesn't need your version of insanity to spread. He needs chaos. It's not the same. It's just a means to an end. They're not all cultists, unfortunately. Once you see the truth, it's hard not to spread chaos yourself, to cause further insanity and harm your own. I doubt it. But can I make you question your reality? Definitely. But in doing so, I would be promoting more chaos. On the basis the central component of our universe is chaos, science can only document a perception of the chaos at any one given moment in time. As, by definition, chaos is unpredictable from one moment to the next. Which means that at any given moment, we can choose to alter our perception of the world. No matter how much chaos that would cause. In 10 seconds' time, there will be no gravity in this room, and we will float. 3, 2...
That wasn't 10 seconds.
1. You think nothing happened. But where's your glass, Doctor?
So this guy was a trustee for him. So is he the one sending the patients? Someone sending them.
It's entirely possible
there we go,
that
there we go.
someone
Good-
is targeting this
call.
practice with psychokinetic patients. To what end, I don't know. It's no coincidence that most psychokinetic patients are diagnosed as insane, or at least temporarily insane. It's a handy diagnosis if you're facing criminal prosecution, especially if it's for murder.
Okay, so there's more to follow up on here.
No, not at all in my experience. Dr. Dekker had an unusual number of patients who claimed psychokinesis. Either he'd been specifically looking for them or someone had been sending them.
Maybe looking for them?
Nope.
Who is the trustee?
That's a strange question to ask. Are you feeling all right, Doctor?
I'm gonna go hint here. The paper spike. Okay. Gonna go in this direction.
It's in that police report that I gave to you. You should really take a look at it.
Okay, that's it, I guess. Should I ask her questions about it? Ask about the desk, maybe?
No.
That's not it. Reading is for nerds. No kidding. Shit. Let's try this again.
Not at all in my experience. Dr. Dekker had an unusual number of patients who claimed psychokinesis. Either he'd been specifically looking for them or someone had been sending them.
Usual.
That's not something I know about.
Doesn't know anything about being unusual. I debate that. Just pretty unusual. Maybe go back to this connection.
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's.
Ask about dinner?
I don't know anything about that.
Claimed kinesis. Psychokinesis? It's definitely like... Definitely applies to every, like all of the patients that we've spoken to so far. They're playing Dota without me. Oh, it's fine. I haven't been like obsessed with Dota lately.
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's. I refused, obviously, because you don't sleep where you eat or something like that. But it was flattering, especially with competition. I don't... Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's. I refused, obviously, because you don't sleep where you eat or something like that. But it was flattering, especially with competition like Mariana around.
Already asked about competition. Like, it might be 2 stars because we have to find out something more about competition.
Sorry, I didn't mean I was competing. I was happy Mariana was going out with him. I didn't want to be romantic with him. We had a stronger connection than...
Romantic?
You're overthinking things.
Hint? How's she feeling? Of course.
I'm fine. I'm ready for my grief counselling. I emailed you Mariana's address. I don't know why you'd want it. I suppose you're going to start doing home visits now, like Dr. Dekker?
Are we just like following the same path as Dr. Dekker? Home visits.
Yes, Dr. Dekker started doing home visits for Mariana. He said she couldn't concentrate properly in his office. I hope you're not thinking of doing the same thing. I need you right where I can see you.
It could be, like Tracer's saying, we're like a reincarnated Dr. Dekker. That's Tracer's theory. Okay, let's go talk to Mariana.
Dr. Dekker suggested home visits. I think he was probably checking up on his investment. You're not thinking of doing home visits, are you, Doctor?
I am investment. What investment?
Aren't we all your investments, Doctor? All the time, all the energy you've invested in us? Seeing how we're doing, making sure we're growing correctly?
It's a weird way of putting it. Growing?
He called it aversion therapy. Whenever I felt the urge to go to the sea, he would do something unpleasant. I don't know what you'd call it, but it was unpleasant for me. Dr. Dekker suggested home visits. I think he was probably checking up on his investment.
What the hell is wrong with his doctor?
Home visits, are you, Doctor?
Are we gonna? Yes. I'm going to start home visits.
I can't afford any more sessions, so it sounds like you'll be paying. That's a date, isn't it, Doctor? I'm not sure that's appropriate.
Oh! Whatever's wrong with the doctor, we're making the same mistakes. Okay, let's back to Jaya. Jeez.
Yes, Dr. Dekker started doing home visits for Mariana. He said she couldn't concentrate properly in his office. I hope you're not thinking of doing the same thing. I need you right where I can see you.
See, concentrate.
Honestly, I think Dr. Dekker had a bit of a crush on Mariana.
You think
or
so?
Vice versa. I'm not really sure. There's some footage from their home sessions if you want to see them.
Yes! Yes.
Have you been taking notes in our session?
Footage. Is that how you spell it? How do you spell it?
Honestly, I think Dr. Dekker had a bit of a crush on
An F?
Mariana, or vice versa. I'm not really sure. There's some footage from their home sessions if you want to see them.
Let's ask about the footage.
I don't know everything. I know most things, but not everything.
Can I see the footage?
Nope. Ask me another.
What?
Honestly, I think Dr. Dekker had a bit of a crush
Do I just say
on
yes?
Mariana,
Yes,
or
I want to see the
vice
footage.
versa.
Probably
I'm
something
not
like
really
that.
sure. There's some footage from their home sessions if you want to see them.
Yes, I want to see them.
No,
Yes, I want to see the footage.
that was a joke, Doctor. I guess we found our level.
Oh. Joke. I don't think that's something you'd want to joke about. That's kind of creepy.
Yes, Dr. Dekker started doing home visits for Mariana. He said she couldn't concentrate properly in his office. I hope you're not thinking of doing the same thing. I need you right where I can see you.
Okay. Can see me. That was the
Checks and balances, Doctor. Somebody needs to be watching the watchman, so to speak. make sure you're helping.
It's filmed at
not
a different time
hindering.
of day, I think. Hindering.
He probably did his fair share of helping and hindering. He was definitely helping in the beginning, but then seemed to lose sight of things. You're overthinking.
Lose sight.
I think he was so overwhelmed by the patients he was getting. His curiosity just got the better of him. There was a definite turning point.
He did quit, right? Turning point. Okay, I like this. We're following it.
Somewhere around the time Professor Alderby turned up, that seemed to unsettle him. And then we had a flood of extra weird patients. I think it was all too much for him. I think I misjudged him. I hope you deal with it better.
I don't know if we are. We're just going down the same path. Misjudge.
There's just a lot of crazy flying around, Doctor. Don't catch any of it.
Okay. Guess we'll go back to this. How are you feeling? Actually, let's just go hint. Why would I want Mariana's address? I think we understand why. For home visits.
Doctor, if you don't want it, don't text me and ask for it. It's all right. I don't mind doing menial tasks for you. Someone has to do them.
Okay, we're like texting her for it? Jeez. She must have us like under her spell. There's something else here.
Dr. Dekker started doing home visits for Mariana.
When did Dr. Dekker start doing home visits? Maybe?
I'm fine. I'm ready for...
Grief.
Grief is such a strange word if you keep saying it.
Go back to this.
Grief, grief, grief. It sounds like somebody's being whipped. And you're going to ask me how I feel today?
Sounds a bit like, more like a dog. Grief, grief. Maybe not.
Grief is such a strange word if you keep saying it. Grief, grief, grief. It sounds like somebody's being whipped. And you're going to ask me how I feel today?
Didn't I already ask? I did ask. What is she talking about? Whip.
I don't know anything about...
Weird. Strange.
I don't... Have you been taking notes in our...
No.
I'm fine. I'm ready...
Let's go back to this. Is there anything here?
Grief is such a strange word if you keep saying it. Grief, grief, grief. It sounds like somebody's being whipped. And you're going to ask me how I feel today?
Strange word.
I don't know everything. I know most things. That's
Hello?
a strange... That's not something I know about.
Help.
You're overthinking things.
Wait, what? Oh, hint. About Ben. Oh, I forgot about Ben.
I think that's all settled now. We are agreeing to pay Ben £5,000 and he's agreeing not to say anything about what he saw.
That's not bad. What did Ben see? I think we already know, but...
He thought he saw a creature coming out of Dr. Dekker's mouth. Well, at least that's the reason he's given for not emptying the bins that night. Either way, it's not the kind of publicity that we need.
No kidding.
Shiny, happy, sane people.
Wow. Okay. Was that the birth of Cthulhu? Cuttlefish prawn. In a meat cut. Dr. Dekker was a cuttlefish in a meat suit. Could be in disguise.
I'm fine. I'm ready for my grief.
Wow. Counseling.
I don't know everything. I know
She doesn't seem like she's grieving, or she doesn't seem like too broken up about Dr. Dekker, to be honest with you. With her grieving. No.
grief is such a strange word if you keep saying it. Grief, grief, grief. It sounds like somebody's being whipped. And you're gonna ask me how I feel today? I don't know.
I'm finding it like as we get further into the conversation, I'm finding it harder to like figure out what to ask. Oh, well, I mean, how do I know what we did or didn't do when we're not? Interesting. I didn't ask for Mariana's address, so someone else is asking for it.
Well, maybe someone sneaked your phone during a session and texted. I know they all look innocent, but if it's not nailed down, there's a good chance they'll walk away with it. You know, I used to have an iPad and a Surface.
Someone's stealing stuff? Want to know more about this creature?
Nope. Ask me another.
Oh, come on. You can't just say, like, Dr. Dekker basically gave birth to a creature and then not follow up on it. That's unfair.
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him. That's a strange question to
You had dinner with Dr. Dekker before? Just gonna go back to, it's just keying off of Dr. Dekker.
Dr. Dekker asked me to have dinner with him for Valentine's. I refused, obviously, because you don't sleep where you eat or something like that. But it was flattering.
How did Dr. Dekker react? Just gonna go back to Dr. Dekker. Okay, yeah. I thought I asked her that.
I was at home on my lonesome, Doctor, like I said before.
That's it. So she doesn't have an alibi for the murder. I feel like a lot of other people do, but she doesn't. That's really interesting. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here. And we'll continue Dr. Dekker next Friday. Went into some very interesting directions. Could go snoo my boo-boo. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up as well, Miss Dinosaur. Thank you guys so much for the support. For those of you that weren't here at the beginning, I was really excited to announce that I'm a partner with Humble Bundle. Just go to this.